The story of the automobile is not a singular event, a lone flash of genius in a single workshop. It is a sprawling epic, a symphony composed by countless hands and minds across centuries and continents. It is a tale of incremental steps, of failed experiments and triumphant breakthroughs, of a relentless human desire to move, to explore, to be free from the tyranny of distance. Our journey to create the car began not with an engine but with a dream and with the simplest of principles, the wheel. For millennia, humanity's relationship with land travel was constrained by the power of muscle, the legs of a human, the strength of an ox, the speed of a horse. We built chariots and carts, carriages and wagons, each an improvement, yet each fundamentally tethered to a living, breathing creature with its own limits and needs. The roads were rough, the journeys long, and the world remained vast and largely disconnected. A profound yearning simmered in the human spirit, the yearning for autonomous motion, for a machine that could harness its own power and carry us forward according to our own will. The first movements in this symphony were theoretical. In the 15th century, the visionary Italian artist and inventor Leonardo da Vinci sketched designs for a self-propelled vehicle, a spring-driven cart. While it was likely never built in his lifetime and its precise mechanism remains a subject of debate, the idea was seeded. It was a proof of concept on parchment, a declaration that such a thing was, in the realm of imagination, possible. For centuries, this idea lay dormant, a seed waiting for the right conditions to sprout. The necessary conditions began to emerge with the dawn of the Industrial Revolution. The development of the steam engine in the 17th and 18th centuries, perfected by figures like Thomas Savery, Thomas Newcomen, and most famously James Watt, provided the crucial spark. If steam could pump water from mines and drive the looms of factories, why could it not propel a vehicle? This question ignited a wave of experimentation. In 1769, a French military engineer named Nicolas-Joseph Cugnon built what is widely recognized as the world's first full-scale, self-propelled mechanical vehicle. His fardier à vapeur, or steam dray, was a monstrous creation. It was designed to haul artillery, a heavy three-wheeled behemoth with a giant copper boiler and a piston engine perched on its front. Its inaugural journey was also history's first automobile accident. It crashed into a stone wall. Yet it moved under its own power. The age of the automobile had, haltingly and with a great deal of noise and smoke, begun. Throughout the early 19th century, steam-powered road vehicles, often called road locomotives, were developed in England and elsewhere. Engineers like Richard Trevithick and Walter Hancock built and operated steam carriages that could carry passengers on scheduled routes, precursors to the bus. But these machines were cumbersome, heavy, and terrifying to the horses that still dominated the roads. They were also plagued by technical limitations and, crucially, by legislation. In Britain, the infamous Red Flag Acts required these vehicles to be preceded by a man on foot waving a red flag and blowing a horn, effectively limiting their speed to a walking pace. This legal hostility stifled innovation for decades, pushing the development of steam power towards the rails, onto the more accommodating tracks of railways. The next and perhaps most critical breakthrough came from a new source of power, the internal combustion engine. While steam engines burned fuel externally to heat water and create steam, the internal combustion engine ignited fuel inside a cylinder to directly drive a piston. The concept was elegant, promising a more compact and efficient power source. The journey to a practical engine was itself a long one. Early pioneers like Etienne Lenoir of Belgium built a gas-fired internal combustion engine in 1860 that ran smoothly but was inefficient. Others, like German inventor Nikolaus Otto, made monumental strides. In 1876, Otto perfected the four-stroke cycle engine: intake, compression, power, exhaust, a principle so fundamental it remains the heart of most cars today, still known as the Otto cycle. The stage was now set. The components existed: the wheel chassis, the principles of steering and suspension refined by carriage makers, and now, a viable compact internal combustion engine. It was in the 1880s in the workshops of Germany that these elements were finally fused into what we recognize as the modern automobile. Two men working independently but almost simultaneously are credited with this world-changing invention: Karl Benz and Gottlieb Daimler. Karl Benz was a meticulous, dogged engineer. In Mannheim, he focused on creating a complete integrated vehicle, not just an engine replacement for a horse-drawn carriage. His 1885 Motorgen was a three-wheeled vehicle, a purpose-built machine from the ground up. It featured a single-cylinder four-stroke engine of his own design, electric ignition, a carburetor for vaporizing liquid fuel, a refined petroleum spirit was becoming available, a crankcase, and water cooling. It was a coherent, holistic invention. On January 29, 1886, Benz was granted a patent for his vehicle powered by a gas engine, a date now enshrined in history as the birth of the automobile. His wife Bertha Benz famously demonstrated its practicality in 1888 by taking it on the first long-distance road trip in history, over 60 miles, to visit her mother. She acted as mechanic, marketer, and pioneer all at once, using a hatpin to clear a blocked fuel line and inventing brake lining on the fly by asking a cobbler to nail leather onto the brake blocks. Meanwhile, in Cannstatt, Gottlieb Daimler, together with his brilliant design partner Wilhelm Maybach, took a slightly different approach. Their goal was to build a small, high-speed engine that could be adapted to any kind of vehicle on land, water, or in the air. In 1886, they mounted their engine into a stagecoach, effectively creating the world's first four-wheeled motor car. Daimler and Maybach's work was more focused on the engine as a universal power unit, and their subsequent designs rapidly advanced the technology, introducing the first V-twin engine and the honeycomb radiator. For a time, these horseless carriages were curiosities, playthings for the wealthy. They were unreliable, difficult to start, and offered little protection from the elements and the rough roads of the time. But the potential was undeniable. The 1890s saw an explosion of innovation, particularly in France, where companies like Panhard Levasseur and Peugeot began serious production. Panhard Levasseur established the basic mechanical layout that would become standard: a front-mounted engine driving the rear wheels through a clutch, gearbox, and differential. This system, Panhard, was a fundamental architectural decision that would define car design for the next half-century. The baton of innovation then crossed the Atlantic. In America, a vast country with great distances between its towns and a less entrenched aristocracy, the automobile found a fertile ground. A host of inventors and entrepreneurs entered the fray: Ransom E. Olds, the Dodge brothers, and David Dunbar Buick, to name a few. But it was a single, stubborn visionary named Henry Ford who truly put the world on wheels. Ford did not invent the car, nor did he invent mass production. But he perfected and combined these ideas in a way that revolutionized society. In 1908, he introduced the Model T, a car designed to be simple, durable, and affordable. Then in 1913, he installed the first moving assembly line in his Highland Park factory. This single innovation slashed the time required to build a car from over 12 hours to just 93 minutes. The cost of the Model T plummeted, and automobile ownership was transformed from a luxury for the few into a practical tool for the masses. Ford's system didn't just manufacture cars, it manufactured mobility for the common person, reshaping the landscape, the economy, and the very rhythm of modern life. The story, of course, does not end with the Model T. The 20th century became a relentless sprint of progress, a constant refinement of the automobile. Electric starters, introduced by Cadillac in 1912, eliminated the dangerous and arduous hand crank. Closed steel bodies became the norm, offering comfort and safety. The development of the synchronized manual transmission made shifting smoother. Suspensions improved, brakes became more powerful, and engines grew more refined and reliable. Styling, too, became a powerful force. In the 1920s and 30s, General Motors under Alfred P. Sloan introduced the concept of the annual model year and planned obsolescence, making style and fashion a reason to buy a new car even if the old one still functioned. The post-World War II era saw an explosion of automotive exuberance, particularly in America, with tailfins, chrome, and powerful V8 engines. Meanwhile, Europe focused on smaller, more economical cars for its tighter roads and higher fuel prices, giving rise to iconic designs like the Volkswagen Beetle, the Mini, and the Fiat 500. The latter half of the 20th century was also marked by a growing awareness of the automobile's consequences. Smog in cities like Los Angeles led to the introduction of emissions controls. The 1970s oil crisis shocked the world and forced a new emphasis on fuel efficiency. Safety, once a secondary concern, became paramount, spurred by activists like Ralph Nader and legislation that mandated seat belts, airbags, and crash testing standards. The car was no longer just a symbol of freedom. It was now recognized as a complex technological system with profound environmental and social responsibilities. The final chapters of this story are being written now in the 21st century. The internal combustion engine, which reigned supreme for over 100 years, is now being challenged. The quest for sustainability has led to a renaissance of electric vehicles, a technology that dates back to the earliest days of the automobile but was long overshadowed. Companies like Tesla proved that electric cars could be desirable, high-performance machines, forcing the entire global industry to pivot towards an electrified future. Hybrid systems, hydrogen fuel cells, and advanced synthetic fuels are all part of this new technological frontier. Furthermore, the dream of autonomous, self-driving cars, once the stuff of science fiction, is now being actively pursued in research labs and on public roads, promising a future where the car is not just a tool but an automated assistant. From the clattering, smoke-belching fartier of Cugnan to the silent, sophisticated computer on wheels of today, the creation of the car is a story of human ingenuity in its purest form. It is a narrative woven from thousands of threads: the insight of the theorist, the sweat of the mechanic, the ruthlessness of the industrialist, the vision of the designer, and the demands of the consumer. We did not simply invent the car one day. We dreamed it, we sketched it, we tinkered with it, we raced it, we mass-produced it, we loved it, and we grappled with its impact. We built it piece by piece, innovation by innovation over centuries. And in doing so, we did not just create a machine. We created a new world, forging a mobile civilization whose journey, for better or for worse, continues to accelerate into an ever-unfolding future. This relentless acceleration into the future is characterized by a convergence of technologies that are fundamentally reshaping the automobile's very identity. The car is shedding its skin as a purely mechanical entity and being reborn as a complex, connected electronic system. This transformation touches every aspect of its being, from how it is conceived and built to how it is powered, driven, and integrated into the urban fabric. The evolution of the powertrain is the most prominent and urgent of these changes. The reign of the internal combustion engine, that magnificent, roaring, and now often maligned heart of the 20th century automobile, is being challenged as never before. The electric vehicle, once a quaint novelty, has stormed the mainstream. This is not merely a swap of a gas tank for a battery pack and an engine for a motor. It is a philosophical and engineering revolution. The modern EV is a testament to the staggering advances in battery chemistry, particularly lithium-ion technology, which has seen its energy density soar and its cost plummet, driven largely by consumer electronics and now scaled to automotive proportions. The electric motor itself, with its instant torque, silent operation, and breathtaking mechanical simplicity, containing a fraction of the moving parts of a combustion engine, offers a completely different, and for many, a superior driving experience. This shift is not a linear progression but a complex, multi-front war for the future of mobility. Hybrid vehicles, both standard and plug-in, serve as a crucial bridge technology, blending the familiar infrastructure of gasoline with the efficiency of electric drive, easing the transition for a skeptical public and a sprawling industry. Meanwhile, in research facilities, other possibilities are being explored with quiet determination. Hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, which generate electricity on board through a chemical reaction between hydrogen and oxygen, emitting only water vapor, promise the quick refueling times of a conventional car with the clean credentials of an EV. The development of synthetic, carbon-neutral fuels offers a potential reprieve for the internal combustion engine itself, allowing it to run on sustainably created liquids without adding new carbon to the atmosphere. The path forward is no longer a single road but a branching network of solutions, each with its own trade-offs, championed by different corporations and nations. Simultaneously, the very soul of driving, the human at the wheel, is being called into question. The pursuit of autonomous driving is arguably the most profound software engineering challenge ever undertaken. It represents the final abstraction of the human from the machine. This endeavor relies on a symphony of sensors: LiDAR painting the world in a cloud of laser points, radar peering through fog and rain, and high-resolution cameras feeding vast streams of visual data to neural networks trained on millions of miles of driving. The goal is to create a perception system more reliable, more vigilant, and ultimately safer than the human eye and brain. The Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE, define levels of autonomy, from Level 1 simple driver assistance like adaptive cruise control to Level 5 full autonomy in all conditions. We are currently in the turbulent adolescence of this technology, with advanced Level 2 and early Level 3 systems capable of handling highway driving, but still requiring a vigilant human overseer ready to reclaim control. The ethical, legal, and social implications are staggering, forcing us to confront the trolley problem in algorithmic form and to reimagine liability, insurance, and the very concept of vehicle ownership. This digital metamorphosis extends deep into the vehicle's architecture. The mechanical throttle cable has been replaced by a drive-by-wire signal. The traditional sprawling harnesses of copper wire are giving way to high-speed digital networks like the Controller Area Network (CAN bus), which allow dozens of electronic control units (ECUs) to communicate. The modern luxury car contains more lines of code than a modern fighter jet. This software-defined vehicle is no longer a static object. It is a platform that can receive over-the-air updates, gaining new features, improving performance, or patching security vulnerabilities long after it has left the factory. This connectivity turns the car into a node on the Internet of Things, enabling everything from real-time traffic navigation and streaming entertainment to remote diagnostics and usage-based insurance. However, it also introduces a new vulnerability: the the threat of cyber attacks, where a hacker could potentially compromise vehicle systems from half a world away. The materials from which we build these rolling computers are also undergoing a radical transformation. The quest for efficiency, whether to extend the range of an EV or to improve the fuel economy of a conventional car, has made weight reduction a paramount concern. The all-steel body-on-frame construction of the past has been largely supplanted by unibody designs. Now, advanced high-strength steels, aluminum, and even carbon fiber composites are being used strategically throughout the vehicle's structure. These materials are stronger, lighter, and allow for more daring and aerodynamic designs. Aerodynamics itself, once a concern mostly for race cars, is now a central pillar of efficiency for every vehicle. With engineers using computational fluid dynamics and countless hours in wind tunnels to sculpt forms that slip through the air with minimal resistance, their surfaces sealed and their underbodies painstakingly smoothed. Even the fundamental relationship between the driver and the vehicle is being rethought through the concept of the human-machine interface, HMI. The dashboard, once a collection of simple analog gauges, has become a digital cockpit, a landscape of high-resolution screens. The traditional knobs and buttons are disappearing, replaced by touchscreens, voice commands, and haptic feedback. This offers unparalleled customization and access to information, but it also raises new questions about driver distraction. The design of these interfaces is a critical field of study, balancing the need for intuitive operation with the demand for a rich, connected experience. The creation of the car was never a finished project. It is a continuous process, an endless loop of innovation, implementation, and iteration. We are now in a period of hyper-evolution, where the car is becoming cleaner, smarter, safer, and more deeply integrated into our digital lives than its creators could ever have imagined. The simple dream of autonomous motion has blossomed into a vision of a fully integrated, intelligent, and sustainable mobility ecosystem. From the workshop of Carl Benz to the software labs of Silicon Valley, the story of how we created cars is still being written. Its next chapters promising a future as unimaginable to us today as a silent, self-driving electric carriage would have been to the pioneers who first heard the pop and sputter of a gasoline engine and glimpsed the open road ahead. This ongoing narrative, this relentless drive forward, compels us to look beyond the vehicle itself and consider the ecosystem it inhabits. The creation of the car was never just about the machine, it was about the world it would build around itself. We are now in the era of building that world anew, of creating the infrastructure, the economic models, and the social contracts that will support this next evolution of mobility. The electrification of the automobile, for instance, demands nothing less than a complete reimagining of our energy landscape. The humble gas station, a ubiquitous fixture of the 20th century, must be replaced or supplemented by a vast, intelligent network of charging points. This is not a simple one-for-one swap. The refueling paradigm shifts from a 5-minute liquid transfer to a process that can range from a 30-minute high-power DC fast charge to an overnight trickle charge at home. This necessitates a new layer of digital infrastructure, sophisticated software to manage grid load, prevent blackouts, facilitate seamless payment, and direct drivers to available chargers. The electric car becomes a mobile energy storage unit, and concepts like vehicle-to-grid (V2G) technology propose a future where your car could sell excess power back to the electrical grid during peak demand, transforming it from a mere consumer of energy into a dynamic participant in the energy market. The materials science revolution extends beyond the car's body to its very soul, the battery. The quest for the perfect energy storage device is one of the great scientific pursuits of our time. Researchers are moving beyond conventional lithium-ion chemistry, exploring solid-state batteries that promise higher energy density, faster charging, and improved safety by replacing the flammable liquid electrolyte with a solid material. Other avenues include lithium-sulfur and lithium-air batteries, which theoretically offer massive leaps in capacity. The sustainability of this entire ecosystem is also under a microscope, driving innovation in battery recycling. The goal is a circular economy where the valuable metals like lithium, cobalt, and nickel are recovered from old car batteries and fed back into the production of new ones, minimizing the environmental toll of mining. The economic and cultural models of car ownership are also being fundamentally disrupted. The 20th century was the century of private ownership. The car is a symbol of personal identity and freedom. The 21st century is seeing the rise of mobility as a service, MaaS. Why own a depreciating asset that sits idle 95% of the time when you can subscribe to a service that provides the right vehicle for the right task? Ride-hailing apps were just the beginning. Car-sharing services, Micromobility options like e-scooters and e-bikes, and subscription models where you can swap between different vehicles monthly are all chipping away at the traditional ownership model. In a future of fully autonomous vehicles, this could culminate in vast, on-demand fleets of robotaxis that you summon with a tap on your phone, transforming transportation into a utility like water or electricity. This shift has profound implications for urban planning and city design. The advent of the car in the 20th century led to the dominance of the suburb, the creation of the interstate highway system, and the allocation of vast swathes of prime urban land to parking lots and wide roads. The potential for autonomous, shared electric vehicles promises a great reclamation. If cars can drop you off and then drive themselves to a remote, efficient parking facility or to their next passenger, we could see the return of urban space to people. Parking lanes could become bike paths, wider sidewalks, or parklets. Traffic flow could become vastly more efficient with connected vehicles communicating with each other, and with traffic signals to eliminate the stop-and-go waves of human-driven traffic. The city of the future could be quieter, cleaner, safer, and more human-centric, all because of how we continue to recreate the car. However, this bright future is not preordained. It is fraught with challenges that are as much social and ethical as they are technical. The digital divide could become a mobility divide, where those without smartphones or digital literacy are left behind by new service-based models. The transition to a new automotive economy threatens to displace millions of workers in industries from gas stations to long-haul trucking, necessitating massive retraining and social safety nets. The collection of vast amounts of data by connected and autonomous vehicles raises monumental privacy concerns. Who owns the data about where you drive, how you brake, and what you listen to? How is it used and who is it sold to? The environmental promise of the electric car is also conditional. It shifts the pollution from the tailpipe to the power plant. A grid powered by coal makes an electric car far less virtuous than one powered by renewables, nuclear, or hydropower. The full lifecycle analysis, from the mining of rare earth minerals for batteries to the manufacturing process and eventual recycling, must be constantly evaluated and improved upon. The goal is not just a zero-emission vehicle, but a zero-emission, sustainably sourced, and equitably deployed mobility system. The story of how we created cars, therefore, is evolving into the story of how we manage the consequences of our creation and steer it toward a better destination. It is a story that now involves not just mechanical engineers and designers, but software coders, data scientists, urban planners, ethicists, climate scientists, and policymakers. The simple, mechanical problem of moving from point A to point B has blossomed into a complex, multidisciplinary challenge that touches upon the core issues of our time: sustainability, equity, privacy, and the very design of human community. From the first spark in a primitive cylinder to the silent hum of a supercomputer on wheels, the journey of the automobile reflects our own journey as a species: ingenious, ambitious, flawed, and relentlessly adaptive. We created the car to conquer distance, and in doing so we reshaped our planet. Now we are tasked with recreating it, with imbuing it with intelligence and conscience, to ensure that the world it helps build next is one of greater harmony, accessibility, and sustainability. The workshop doors are still open, the design software is still running, and the road ahead, while uncertain, remains full of possibilities. The story is far from over, we are merely drafting the next, most crucial chapter. The drafting of this next chapter is occurring not in isolation, but within a global crucible of competition, collaboration, and geopolitical strategy. The creation of the modern automobile has become an intensely international endeavor, with different regions leveraging their unique strengths and addressing their specific weaknesses in a race to define the future of mobility. This global dynamic adds another layer of complexity to the already intricate tapestry of automotive evolution. In East Asia, the narrative is one of rapid ascendance and technological dominance. Japan, with its legacy of Kaizen, continuous improvement, and legendary manufacturing reliability, pioneered the hybrid revolution with the Toyota Prius, making efficiency a mainstream selling point. This established a foundation of consumer trust and technical prowess. Meanwhile, South Korea emerged as a powerhouse through aggressive innovation, vertical integration, and a relentless focus on design and quality, challenging established premium brands by offering cutting-edge technology and extensive warranties as standard. The most seismic shift, however, has come from China. Once a technological follower, China has leveraged its massive domestic market, strong state support, and a formidable electronics manufacturing ecosystem to become the world's largest electric vehicle market and a leading exporter. Chinese manufacturers have moved with breathtaking speed, creating vehicles that are often, in terms of technology, connectivity, and feature content, a generation ahead of many Western equivalents. They have turned the car into a smart device par excellence, with vast digital dashboards, integrated social media, and advanced driver assistance systems as standard fare. This has forced every major global automaker to not only accelerate their own EV plans, but also to fundamentally reconsider the role of software and user experience in their vehicles. The creation of the car is now, in many ways, a battle for the soul of its operating system. In contrast, Europe and North America represent the established order undergoing a profound and sometimes painful transformation. The European automotive industry, the birthplace of the automobile, is defined by its legacy of luxury brands and performance engineering. The German Autobahn and the Italian passion for design are ingrained in their automotive DNA. For these titans, the shift to electrification is a delicate balancing act. They must preserve the core attributes, the visceral sound, the tactile feedback, the heritage that define their brands for a century, while simultaneously translating those values into the silent, instantaneous, and software-driven world of EVs. The challenge is to create an electric vehicle that still feels unmistakably like a Mercedes-Benz, a BMW, or a Porsche. Simultaneously, Europe's stringent regulatory environment, with its de facto ban on new internal combustion engine sales by 2035, acts as a powerful